Alright, it's time for another board game review. This time we have Colosseum. Look at that. Look at that fancy cover. This was sent to me by Tasty Minstrel Games, or TMG. Thank you very much for sending this. So, Colosseum is a game. I'll read the description for you. You are an impresario in ancient Rome, filling your amphitheater with plays, gladiator battles, artistic scenery, and feats of physical prowess. And now the greatest amphitheater of all is opening, the Colosseum. To celebrate, spectacles the world has never seen will be put on display, and it is up to you to ensure yours are the very best. I like how the slipcover is very serious, and then you slip it off, and it's like, yeah, it's fighting a tiger, oh yeah! But the game is not combat-based. The game is, like the rules say, about putting on a show, and trying to put on the best quality production to attract the most spectators. First off, I gotta say the components in here are super nice. What particularly impressed me are that the coins are metal. Like, they're like not like paper or cardboard cutouts like they usually are. And they have Roman numerals, which I think is a cute little addition. We got 2, and you know, they go up like, it's like 1, 2, 5, 10, and then 50. So they all come in different sizes. I like this nice purple bag, which you put in tiles to draw from. Everything is just colorful and fun. You got little noble pieces you can see here. There's lots of little components, and it all looks really nice. The art is quite nice. It's got a cartoony, fun look to it. It's a very attractive package overall, just component-wise. So like I said before, putting on the best show is the objective of the game, and there are 5 phases. There's investing, acquiring assets, trading, putting on a show, and closing ceremonies. And I'll sort of walk through kind of like how it works. So the first step is investing, and you have a couple things you can invest in. You can invest in events, and events are basically the different types of shows you can put on. And the cost of each event varies. This one's 17, this one's 20, you know. So that's what these are the things you're putting on in order to get fans and money and build better shows. You can also expand your little arena. So this is your arena where your shows are going to be held. And as you progress in the game, you can buy expansions and expand the size of your arena. You can add season tickets, so you get like little stands for the audience, and you can get by a little Emperor's platform if you want to put that here. All these do different things, which I'll explain. But it's a cute little mechanism. Like, it's satisfying watching your little arena grow and get more stuff added to it. So that's investing. The second step is asset acquisition. And assets are these little tiles, which you collect from this bag. They have like little symbols on them. This one's like a priest symbol, and this one's like a little wheel or a chariot symbol. And you use these to build your events. So this one requires 3 musicians, 1 priest, 1 chariot, and so on. It shows you everything you need to put on the best show. So in the event acquisition phase, I'm not gonna put all of them out because I don't care, but there's 5 different markets here. They each have 3 different tiles, and what you do is you take turns sort of bidding on markets and doing auctions, basically. So sometimes you can be a little aggressive and like bid on stuff that you know other people want because you can see kind of like what they're going for. And so it's basically a basic auction system. And as you're doing that, you're trying to acquire assets so that you can build your events. All in all, it's a pretty fair system because the way it works is, I'll just put some more out. Every player gets a turn to initiate a bid. So when it's your turn as the active player, you can pick which of these markets to bid on, and then everyone bids on that market in turns. And even if you don't win that particular bid, the person who won that bid won't be able to bid again on future ones you initiate. So you'll be guaranteed to at least get one market you want, but it is a pretty aggressive auctioning system. And then the next player becomes the active player, and so on. Even if you're not the active player, you still have the option to bid on anybody's market they're trying to go for. After that, there's a trading phase where you can offer to trade with other players, and that's pretty straightforward. And then we go into the producing an event phase, and what that is on the board there are these nobles, which I will set up. As you can see, we got these little guys, these little nobles. And the way this goes down is everyone gets to roll a dice, or two if you have an Emperor's Platform, which I mentioned before. And as you roll the dice, which I like that they have Roman numerals, I think that's a cute little touch, you get to pick a noble and move them that many spaces. Let's say you do this or something. Now, the reason why you want to do that is if a noble is in your arena, then you get more spectators. The white nobles, the senators, give you 3 spectators, the consuls, the red ones, give you 5, and the emperor, the one over there, is the purple one, he gives you 7 spectators. So the key to success for your show is getting as many spectators as you can. And these season ticket things I mentioned before, those give you 5 each. So you're constantly trying to get as many spectators as you can. Moving to nobles adds this really fun element of basically fucking with your opponents. So if you move let's say you move this guy in here, your opponent has the option to move him out if he can with his next roll. So you're constantly trying to move the nobles in places that work for your advantage, and that's why expanding the arena is valuable, because you have not only the option to build more complicated events, but also you have more spaces for a noble to land in. And the Emperor's Platform, as I mentioned, gives you the option to roll 2 dice instead. So you can move either 1 noble with the combined total, or you can move 2 different nobles with 2 different dice. Also, if you notice the starting spaces, some of them, they're colored spaces where the nobles started on at the beginning of the game. If you land a noble on one of those spaces, you get what's called an Emperor's Medal. Emperor medals are cool because they let you do special things. You can exchange them for 6 coins. You can use them to move a noble 1, 2, or 3 spaces forward or backward, or you can add them on to events to give you 3 more spectators. Or if you have 2 Emperor medals, you can discard them during the investment phase and buy 2 things, because normally in the investment phase you can buy only 1 thing per round, and there are 5 rounds total. After all the nobles have been moved around, what you do then is you add up your spectators. Now here's a feature I really like about the game. If you look on this event card, you see that there's a certain number of assets you need, right? But in this game, you don't have to get every single one. Sometimes it's just not possible. So what happens then is it's not like an all or nothing thing. You will lose spectators for each asset you don't have. So let's say you're missing, say, 2 musicians. Normally you would get 20 spectators for this, but because you're missing 2 assets, you go down to 14. So it's fair. You're never in a position where you're like, I have nothing I can do, so I guess I'm fucked. You always have something you can build because it gives you some leeway. So you count up your assets, see how many spectators you get, see how many upgrades, season tickets, and so on are in your arena, add up how many nobles are in your arena, and that's how many spectators you have for that event. And you get coins equivalent to the number of spectators you get for that event, so that you can save that money and build hopefully a better event next time. So that should give you a pretty good idea, I hope, of how to play the game. I didn't explain every single thing, but that's definitely the basics. Pretty straightforward. It runs really smoothly. Now, I love this game. And one of my favorite design elements of it is that it's not a cumulative score-based game, it's a high-score game. What that means is that the greatest number of spectators you ever got on a single event is your score. It's not like every time you put on an event, you add that score to the previous score and just go up and up and up and up and up and up. What it does is it encourages people to beat the highest person's high score, and you have 5 rounds to do it. So even if your first couple events are a little lackluster in terms of spectators, that doesn't ever make it so that you cannot win the game, because it's always the highest score by anyone ever. So theoretically, if someone got a really high score in, like, let's say the 2nd or 3rd round, and no one was able to beat that by the end of the game, that player would win. Even if you don't win that particular round with your event, you still get money for having a lot of spectators. So it's never like, oh, well, there's no point in doing this because I can't beat the high score. It doesn't matter, because the more spectators you have, the more money you get, and the more likely it is you'll be able to invest and build up to a better event next time. There's some other little gameplay elements here that I think balance the game well. For example, Whoever has the most of a particular asset, this is the barbarian or gladiator asset. If you have 3 or more of those in your collection and you have the most of them, you get what's called a star performer. And star performers give you a +4 spectator bonus if you use that asset in your event. But if you ever are not the person with the most, let's say, gladiator tokens, then whoever surpasses that total takes that star performer and becomes the new star performer holder. Also, at the end of each round, whoever has the highest score, not of that round, but of all time, gets a podium, which is this. And this gives you a permanent +3 spectator bonus in your arena, which you can place in your little arena. Now, one of the players I played with was concerned that that was like a little unfair because it felt like whoever was winning was getting an even better bonus, and it's like harder. But for me, I think it's totally fine because it makes you have an incentive to beat someone's high score because you get to have that little bonus. And also, whoever gets a podium at the end of a round gives one of their assets to the losing player. So I think it balances out. The last place person is never totally too behind, and the first place has some stuff to check and balance them. We had a really tight score at the end. Like, we were pretty much like neck and neck. The asset management is also fun because after each event you produce, you have to choose one of the events to give up. You basically discard it. So you're trying to collect assets you need, and you're trying to look at future events, because on the back of the reference cards, it has a list of every event you can build. So you're looking at what you have, you're thinking about what should I give up, what should I trade, what should I buy in the market, because what am I building towards in the future? All in all, the game is a really tight design. You're constantly, not in a bad way, you constantly want to do all this cool stuff, because there's a lot of, you can upgrade your arena, and you can, do all this cool shit, buying all the things. But there are only 5 rounds, so you have to choose carefully. So you're always excited about what you're doing, but you also have to be very smart about what you're doing. It's not like you can just go la 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 la, I'll just build up my arena and not worry about what's going on with the rest of the players. You have to adapt and figure out what they're doing and how to maximize your event. All in all, I thought this was a great game. Every single phase is satisfying in its own way. I love building up the arena. I love moving the little nobles and fucking people over by moving them out or moving mine in, landing on the spaces. It's almost like the base instinct sorry, like how it feels to play sorry when you're a kid, like getting to mess with people. That's a really fun mechanic. The theme is super fun. I love the idea of putting on these cool events. And now, like I said, the components are great, and that high scoring system is, like I said, I think it's brilliant. Because in some games, if someone has a super high cumulative score, you're like, I'm just never going to be able to catch up to them. But in this game, you never feel that way, because that score is the score to beat. It's not going to get higher than that unless someone else gets better than that. This game was designed by Wolfgang Kramer and Markus Lübke. Good job, guys. I think this is a great game. Super satisfying to play. Great production values. I just had a blast. Good shit.